things in a different fashion than this book is, but somewhere along there, you'll have an opportunity to practice drawing your bass clef. You can do that if you want. I won't ever look. Okay?
Again,
Yeah.
why don't we do this anymore? Move the clef? Like, is there a practical reason why they chose not to do it anymore?
It scares people.
So, if I decided to write a piece of music when I moved the clef, would that be legal?
Yeah, it'd be legal.
I mean,
But you'd be going against current protocol, maybe, or something like that.
and I would be flogged
You would probably
in the dark
have
streets.
to write a note to consumer or something like that. Be sure and remember that this bass clef is not in its usual place, which means second line is now F. Okay?
And then
You would
they'll
also
hate
get
me. And
attacked by the CIA.
why the CIA?
I don't know, that's just what I said.
No, it's fine to do it. The CIA's not going to come after you. It's just a matter of whether you.
Sorry, it would be FBI. The CIA is.
Yeah.
They're gonna have mobs coming after me at the dead of night.
I would guess, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess that if you plan to publish it, the publisher would most likely send it back to you and say, would you please use the standard notation for the F clef.
And I would just write back, why?
No, because I want smart people, not people.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
they'll kick me out of the club.
And I'm glad you said that, because there are some really cool things out there that Bach wrote, and they were called puzzle cannons. First, you need to know what a cannon is. Is everybody? And it's not the thing that shoots cannonballs. Right? A cannon is a large category for which rounds fit in. In other words, and you can have a round can be a cannon, but a cannon can't be a round. Okay, a cannon is just the big category. All right, of something that repeats and has a similar harmonic background, so that you can start anywhere in the song and everything works out. Okay? Row, row, row your boat is a round, right? It's all on one chord, so no matter where you start or how many different persons start, it will always sound okay. All right? Pachelbel's canon is not a round, but it is similar to that in that any 4 bars you can start anywhere. You can't start 3 or 5. It has to be the exact number of 4. But every melody in Pachelbel's canon works with the chord structure that goes through the 4 bars. Okay. Well, anyway, and I wasn't really prepared to talk about this today, so I can't tell you which one it was. I'd like to say it was King Henry VIII, but I'm not sure. It was King Henry the something that had a terrific time getting to sleep, probably from all the guilt of chopping people's head off or whatever, but could not go to sleep.
Wives.
He was an excellent musician, and in fact, while he was king, he ordered that there would be a harpsichord in every single room of the castle, so that wherever he went, he didn't have to go very far to sit down and play on the harpsichord. And then he entrusted Bach to write him some puzzle cannons that he had to figure out. It was kind of like doing crossword puzzles when you can't sleep, only he was doing the crossword puzzles in music when he couldn't sleep. And they were just hilarious. It might be, not hilarious, it's not funny, but it was very clever is what I meant, okay? Very clever. It might look something like this. There might be only one set of pieces of music, something like that. But over here, there would be this, there might be this, and then there might also be, and let's see if I can do this. Only that would probably been down farther. And what that would mean is, if you could read it, you would read that so that if you are playing the treble clef part, you would be playing E, B, F, G, B, A, which would sound good with your left hand, which would be playing the bass clef of whatever this would be. If this is F, G, A, B, C, D, so right there, that didn't work because that's an E against a D. But anyway, Bach would figure out whatever in bass clef this would be that would sound good with that as a treble clef line. And then, if you stood on the other side of the staff, and read it in treble clef. And Bach was the kind of genius that he could make all three of those that all come out looking just like this. Three different notes that worked perfectly together. And you can still, I think you can still buy them. I believe they're called Puzzle Cannons by J.S. Bach. And he wrote dozens of them. Yes, sir?
Can she call real quick?
I'm going to have trouble hearing things, but Kyle is moving, so he must have asked for Kyle. Is that what happened?
Yeah. He wanted to see them together.
Okay. All right. So, sometime, and this actually spawned some other kind of cool things. Mozart was not quite, and shame on me for comparing the two of them and trying to tell you that one was smarter than the other. Mozart did some great tabletop duets that he learned from this, and basically what it was he would write notes in treble clef for two violins, but he would figure out what that note is if you went around on the other side of the stand and looked at it, and he made sure that those two notes were compatible, and then you and your duet partner would stand on both sides of the same piece of music. He or she would read it from this top corner down this way, and I would read it from this side up here, and somehow these two measures obviously go together, and they have to go together also from upside down and right side up, but they are great duets, and I think it's the coolest thing. But anyway, no more do we flip-flop those things.
Why not?
Yes, if you, and I would have thought, it's cool to figure out those puzzles from Bach the way he did them, and maybe that would help you fall asleep, but I think it would be even more helpful to create those if you can't sleep. Surely you would tax your mind so heavily that you would fall asleep immediately. We need to talk a little bit about the grand staff. The book doesn't talk about the grand staff for another couple of pages, so when we get there, we'll just skip it now. But I want to talk about the grand staff now. Yesterday, I was making fun of our notation, and the reason I was making fun of it was because I said the alto clef was the only one that made sense, because in the treble clef we call that middle C, and there's nothing middle about it. You remember me saying that, those of you who were here? Others of you were not here, but you'll hear it on the YouTube tonight. Same way in bass clef. This is called middle C, but there's nothing middle about it. Right. However, what we really refer to them as middle C for is when we do this and combine the two together. This is in the middle, so to speak. It happens to be the same note as that one who's in the middle. Now, if you're not a piano, how many of us are not a piano player? Barely do any piano playing at all. Okay, that's good.
I'm gonna first Noel.
Not making any judgments, but you would be the folks that would probably confuse this more than people who play the piano. Because as Chris looks at that right away, he says, oh, same note. I have to argue with whether I play that with my left thumb or my right thumb. Because or your pinky or whatever. Because it's the same note. And what piano composers do is they determine which thumb they want you to play that with by where they put it. If they put it up here, they want you to play with your right thumb. If they put it down here, they want you to play it with your left thumb. Now, the thing that would be really good is if you could imagine it this way. Okay? That's the best description. Two C's in between the treble and the bass. There's only one. Okay? If we could move this staff up so that it could be just that wide, then it would be a whole lot easier to understand the grand staff. Okay? Now, what you need to understand here is this D is also a bass clef D, even though it's in treble clef. The same note, the very same note, is this note. The same way with this note right here is also a treble clef note. It's this note right there. Okay? Not only that, this G right here can be played in the treble clef. And let me show you what the actual reason for the two ledger lines is. This one is this line. This one is actually this line. This ledger line came from the top line of the bass clef. Now here's where we use that, or here's where we have to watch out for it, is what I mean. And by the way, this is something that needs to be said. I will quite frequently talk to you as if I'm talking to you about choir music, but I'm not. Okay? Choir, well, let's say this. All music starts with bass, tenor, alto, and soprano. The thing about choir music is that's all they need. So they go on from there. The rest of us then determine which instruments we want the bass to be, which instruments we want to cover the tenor part, which instruments we want to cover this alto part, etc. But everybody starts with soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. All right. So whenever I talk about it that way, I'm not really saying anything about choirs. Okay, unless it sounds like I'm insulting them in some way, then I am talking about choirs. But